Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go through some simple steps to make some really easy and really simple spaghetti that you can make at home. The ingredients for pasta are really simple. All we need is some semolina flour, we need some eggs, we'll need some water, some olive oil, and some kosher salt. To get started, we're going to take some semolina flour and we're just going to pour it directly onto our work surface. Now we're going to take our semolina flour and we're going to make a divot or a crater right into the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll get our salt ready, olive oil ready, and our water ready. Next, we're going to take 2 eggs and we're going to crack them and place them right into the center of the crater. Take a fork and we're going to basically beat the eggs in the center. And as we beat them, we will slowly drag in the semolina flour into the egg mixture. The amount of flour that you use is really dependent upon you. This is a traditional method of making pasta I have seen numerous times through my mother-in-law and various Italian cooks on YouTube, believe it or not. This is a very common method. We'll basically slowly add in the semolina flour as we mix this all together. As it slowly comes together, next we will add some 2 tablespoons of water and olive oil. So we'll add a little bit of salt. We'll add roughly 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of water. Let's go ahead and get all this mixed in together. As soon as your fork has lost its intended purpose, we will then move to a scraper. So we'll just scrape any remnants off. And we'll bring everything in together. As you bring the pasta dough in, you're obviously not going to use all of your semolina flour, which is fine. Any semolina flour that you do not use, you can recycle back. Just run it through a strainer so that clumps of dough don't get in. So now that we have our pasta, we will scrape everything that we're not using away. And what's left is the dough that we are going to knead for about 10 minutes. If we need to, we can always add more flour. And we're basically going to work this all together until we have a nice dough. Making pasta is always a very messy process, but trust me, it is well worth it in the end. So some of you might be wondering why I'm using semolina flour. Semolina flour is also known as a wheat flour. It is a common flour used when making pasta. Still a little too sticky. So let's go ahead and get some more semolina flour in here. Pasta's coming together quite nicely now. As we get more of this flour mixed into the dough will become less sticky. Now, as you knead the dough, a best practice when kneading is to take the dough and fold it onto itself and push down. Push down with the palm of your hand. I'm just going to roll this around a little bit. When you get to this stage here, you want to knead the dough for close to 10 minutes. Now, if you cannot get a hold of semolina flour, you can always get yourself some 00 flour. You can get away with using all-purpose flour, but if you're trying to stick to a traditional pasta that you could find in Italy or in genuine Italian restaurants that make their own pasta, you want to use semolina flour. So now that we have this dough, what we're going to do is we're going to get it into a nice taut ball. And to get it into a nice taut ball, we're going to fold around and over the top like so until we have a nice ball. Now we're going to take the pasta and we are going to put it into a bag. Take as much air out as possible. And we're going to let this rest for about 20 minutes. All right, so some time has passed and we're almost ready to pull the pasta out of the bag. But before we do that, let's talk about the pasta maker. This is my pasta maker. All right, it is a Atlas 150. It's from Mercato. I got this from Italy. It is a beautiful machine. It really is. I have 3 different cutting types here. This cutting type is for spaghetti. This cutting type is for fettuccine pasta and taglioni pasta. Today we're going to be using spaghetti. So we're not going to be using this one. So we'll put that one off to the side. We will, however, be using this one for a little while. This one is a beautiful piece, very well put together. It's going to basically cut our spaghetti for us. The pasta maker is securely attached to the work surface or the table, and you have a crank handle. Okay, the crank handle will go into the back side closest to you where you can turn the pasta. So this is your dial indicator right here. This indicator basically allows you to set the width or the thickness of the pasta that you are making, which is also going to come in handy. I'll explain that here in a minute. Now, in order to make your pasta work and work a lot very well actually, is you're going to need some flour. This is regular all-purpose flour that I have here, and it's basically going to act as sort of like a lubricant, if you will, for the pasta machine and the pasta cutters. So what we'll do is we will get a little bit of flour onto the work surface here. And with this, we will take some of the flour and we are going to sprinkle it inside the rollers. You want to make sure that your rollers are very well covered in flour. It basically prevents the stickage of the pasta. This is where things are going to get even more messier than they were before. And we're going to do the same thing for our spaghetti cutter. We're basically going to put some flour in here. So now that we have flour in here, we're ready to go with that. Next, we're going to take our pasta out of the bag. We're going to put it into the flour here. And we're going to liberally coat it all the way around. Next, we're going to take a scraper. And we are going to cut the pasta into 4 parts. Now, 3 of these parts are going to go right back into the bag. This way they do not dry out. At this point, you can save your pasta as is, as a dough, so that it can be used later. What we're going to do with this one is we are going to basically get it into a nice little taut ball. Once we have it into a nice little ball, we're going to move some of the flour away, keeping part of the surface lightly floured. Take a rolling pin. Coat your rolling pin. Now you cannot just put the ball of dough into the machine, so we're going to flatten it down a bit and we're going to roll it out. At this point, we'll turn it sideways and we will fold it in to thirds, like so. And we are going to repeat the process. Fold it into thirds again. Now, if you do not have a pasta cutter like the one that I have on the table right now, you can continue to roll out the dough, folding it into thirds until you get to the desired thickness that you need, and you will basically have your pasta. Let's go ahead and get some flour on there. Fold it into thirds. Repeat the process. And with that, we will then feed it into our pasta machine. Go ahead and feed it through twice. Fold it into thirds. And repeat the process. Make sure your pasta stays lightly floured on all sides. As you run it through. Now we will take our dial and we will turn it one notch closer, and we are going to repeat the process. I like to roll it twice through. You're going to repeat this process where you keep it lightly floured on both sides, and after a couple passes you adjust the thickness of it again. And you will notice that as you pass the pasta through, it becomes not just thinner but longer. We're going to run it through again, this time after we adjust it. Now this is where you can make your pasta as thick or as thin as you desire, or as thick or as thin as you need for your recipe, whichever pasta recipe that you are going with. Now if you need lasagna sheets, this is how you get your lasagna sheets. Turn it again. Lightly flour on both sides. And now we have a really good lasagna sheet here. As you can see, it's kind of see-through. It's almost what we're looking for. So we're going to run it through again. Now this is a really good sheet here. Let me drape it up for lasagna. So to make it more manageable, we're going to have a knife and we are going to cut anywhere that you want. Okay, I'm going to cut right here. And that one I will pull off to the side. And I will continue to work on this sheet here. I'm going to bring it down to one more level of thinness here. And now with this thin sheet of pasta right here, so let's go ahead and cut some spaghetti. And there we have our homemade spaghetti. But now we need to let the spaghetti dry. So there's a few different ways that you can dry this. You can either lay them completely flat onto a table, or you can get a pasta rack, which is what I'm going to do. We'll take the pasta, like so. And then you'll hang it. We don't like stragglers. So you can rearrange the pasta so that it's not hanging on top of another. What will happen now is the pasta will completely dry, and as it dries, it'll stiffen up into a nice stiff pasta noodle that you can save and eat later at a later time. So I do hope you enjoyed the video. This is just a quick video on how you can make pasta at home if you find that there is no pasta at the store. I do hope that you enjoyed what you watched. Please leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next week.